What is the J1 waiver RFE? Why do you get them? We all don't like requests for evidence. That's what's going to be discussed in this video. We're going to deep dive into the request for evidence. We're going to give you an inside view of an actual request for evidence that was issued so you can see what it looks like. Hi, my name is Kaushik Ranchod. I represent clients throughout the 50 states, been practicing for over 20 years in immigration law. Stay tuned so you can find the nitty-gritty. Let's get started. A request for evidence, also known as a RFE, with J1 waiver specifically, they sometimes appear to be a random boilerplate request for evidence unless the case is entirely deficient. So I want to first of all share with you what a request for evidence is like, where a client came to us, they tried to file the case on their own, and this is an extremely complicated area of law. They did the best that they could, but they didn't realize that they needed to file a DS-3035. They only filed the I-612. They did a one-page statement that was not sufficient, so then that's why we took over the case to address and respond to this request for evidence. But it's not something where you just fill out the form and then you submit a statement and it's going to easily get approved. Let's look at the request for evidence so you can see what USCIS is looking for. Okay, in this request for evidence, one thing it asks for is proof of US citizenship. So this is extremely important because you have to demonstrate that your qualifying relative is an actual qualifying relative. So this is the basics. You need to demonstrate that there actually are a citizen or a lawful permanent resident. That can be done in a variety of ways, typically naturalization certificate or copy of the birth certificate if you're a US citizen. For lawful permanent residents, you can provide a copy of your green card. In the request for evidence, it's also asking for a copy of the marriage certificate. This is also basic. This is something where you need to demonstrate that you actually have the relationship to your qualifying relative. Now we're going to dive into the request for evidence where it's asking for hardship claims. So the RFE starts off with this language. An applicant must establish that exceptional hardship would be imposed on a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident spouse or child by the foreign residence requirement in both circumstances and not merely in one or the other. This is really important because this is a common error that I see with people who are less experienced in filing J1 waivers or filing it on their own, where they're only demonstrating one, where they're going to be separated from each other, or vice versa if they were going to join their spouse in the home country. And you have to demonstrate exceptional hardship in both circumstances, not just in one circumstance, in both circumstances. So you got to hit them with like a 1-2 punch. Here the RFE goes on to state, hardship is divided into two segments. Consideration must be given to the effects if the qualifying family member was to accompany the applicant abroad for the stipulated 2-year term. Consideration must separately be given to the effects of the requirement should the family member choose to remain in the U.S. while the applicant is abroad. Hardship to the applicant is not a consideration in this matter. This last sentence is really important. Hardship to the applicant is not a consideration in this matter, because what that means is that they don't care about the hardship to you as a J1 applicant. They only care about the hardship to the qualifying relative. The RFE goes on. Provide a detailed explanation along with specific documentary evidence of the exceptional hardship the qualifying family member will suffer because of the 2-year residence requirement. And then it underlines, be sure to address the specific hardship in both circumstances as mentioned above. The RFE goes on about what was submitted, and then it says, while you've submitted a personal statement, you've not fully explained your hardship claims. Your only claim is based on separation of your qualifying relative. Now, USCIS loves this language right here. They love to throw this in your face. Temporary separation, even though abnormal, is a problem many families face in life, and in and of itself does not represent exceptional hardship as contemplated by Section 212V. That's why it's really important to really deep dive into the hardships, because mere separation is not enough. And that's why when we build a case, we look at all of your hardships, career, financial, any mental health issues, so we can paint the whole picture of hardship. And in this case, when they submitted it themselves, they just told what it was going to be like if they were separated, and boom, this is one of the reasons why this RFE was issued. The RFE goes on, in addition, you've not provided documentation as it pertains to your spouse to reflect his or her citizenship or that you're married. Please provide documentary evidence to fully support your claims in both travel scenarios. Your statement alone is insufficient to demonstrate that your spouse or child will suffer an exceptional hardship in either travel scenario. Basically, what this is saying is back up your claims. Don't just say what your hardships are in that personal statement. That's not enough. You need to have appropriate documentation. If you don't have appropriate documentation to substantiate your claims, it's going to be extremely difficult to get your case approved. And that's one of the things that we can evaluate when you talk to us during a consultation, whether or not you have the necessary documentation, whether or not you have the appropriate types of hardship to demonstrate exceptional hardship. And then the RFE goes on. If claiming economic or financial hardship, include evidence of the income and savings between you and your spouse, as well as financial records, monthly expense list. Also provide specific documentary evidence to show the economic and employment situation in your home country. As you can tell in this request for evidence, it's boilerplate. This could be cut and pasted and put into anybody. In this specific situation, what it's talking about here is that they want you to back up your economic hardship claims. Typically, the way we do that is in a spreadsheet, look at what your income is coming in, and then what your expenses are and what the difference is. How's that going to change if you had to go to the home country? How's that going to change with having to have daycare? How's that going to change with having to support a household while you're abroad? Then the RFE goes on. If claiming medical or health hardship, submit a detailed letter from the qualifying family member's physician stating layman's terms what the date of the initial consultation, diagnosis, treatment prescribed, duration of treatment, the availability of the treatment in the applicant's home country, and the prognosis and opinion on the ability to travel. Here you can see what a request for evidence is like. This one was a boilerplate request for evidence, just copy. It looked like a copy and paste that the officer did, asking for more information. And that's because in this situation, the application that was submitted was completely insufficient. But even if you submit a sufficient application, sometimes it just seems completely random that a request for evidence is issued. This type of request for evidence also gives you an idea of what USCIS is looking for and shows you that just by providing the basics is not enough. And that's why in our office, we like to do a complete evaluation, audit of all the records that you have, the documentation, suggest what is appropriate, what's not, to help build your case, and then finally prepare a legal brief based on all of this. I hope this video helped serve you. It gave you an idea of what a request for evidence for a J1 waiver is like. And if you have questions, you can reach out to us at 916-613-3553. Make sure you take a look at our case study so you can see what USCIS is looking for, what has worked for us, and share this with a friend or family member because they may need this type of help as well. And by watching this video, you're bettering yourself. By bettering yourself, you're bettering your family. And by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. Thank you. Bye for now.